welcome to the 2020 Ohioana Book Festival. I'm Jamie Lynn Smith, and I'm pleased to welcome you to hear Rachel Wiley and Marcus Jackson read today. We want to thank all of our festival sponsors and partners, all of whom you can find listed on the Ohioana website. And thanks to our official bookseller, The Book Loft, for this festival by going online to bookloft.com. And now I'm really pleased to welcome our authors, Rachel Wiley and Marcus Jackson. Hello.
Hi.
How are you both doing today? Cool.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
I just said I'm not bad.
Cool. Marcus, we meet again.
What's up?
I
think last time was AWP.
So many good things, right?
Right? Is that the last time?
I think so, yeah. So I'm broadcasting live from very near, from Knox County, from your summer stomping ground. So
Yeah.
We are really honored today to have both of you with us. And for anybody who's just joining us, I'm going to do a quick read through of some bios so that we fully honor all the experience that Rachel and Marcus bring to the panel. And then I'm just going to have them go bananas and read some great poems and give it today. So, Rachel Wiley is a poet, performer, and body positive activist from Columbus, Ohio. She has competed in multiple national poetry slam competitions and was a finalist twice in 2011. She's toured nationally, performing at slam venues, colleges, and festivals, including the 2014 Geraldine Dodge Poetry Festival in Newark, New Jersey. Her work has been featured in the Huffington Post, Everyday Feminism, Frig Magazine, Drunken Boat, Drunk in a Midnight Choir, Nailed Magazine, and PBS NewsHour. Rachel's first full-length collection of poems, Fat Girl Finishing School, was published on Timbermouse Press in 2013, and her newest collection, Nothing is Okay, came out from Button Poetry in March of 2018. Marcus Jackson is here with us today also. He was born and raised in Toledo, Ohio. After earning his BA at the University of Toledo, he continued his poetry studies in NYU's Graduate Creative Writing Program and is a Cave Canem Fellow. His poems have appeared in the American Poetry Review, the New Yorker, and the New York Times Magazine, among many other publications. His chapbook, Rundown, was published by Oriole Press in 2009. His debut full-length collection of poems, entitled Neighborhood Register, was released in 2011, and his second book-length collection, Pardon My Heart, was published by Tri-Quarterly in 2018. Marcus lives with his wife and daughter in Columbus, Ohio, and teaches in the MFA programs at Ohio State and Queen's University of Charlotte. Should we snap since we're at a poetry thing? And quietly applause.
I'm going to say that.
All right. So I'm not sure who's going to read first. So do you want to flip a coin or start things off?
Either way is fine with me.
Rachel?
Yeah, whatever.
Sure.
I don't know. Is that me then? I'll start then. This poem I wrote for the people at a writer's retreat that I am lucky enough to be staff of, the Pink Door Writing Retreat. It's about sisterhood, but in writing it, I was really adamant that I don't use any particular pronouns. So there are none. In the place of pronouns, I just say sister, because I think, gender can supersede, or not gender, sisterhood supersedes gender. Unbow your head, sister, for the Pink Door Coven. My sister adjusts my crown, and I shine my sister's crown with a sleeve. We link pinkies and flirt stars down from the sky to breathe life back into them with mouth full of fire-tongued kisses. I bring food to my sister, still hot, urge my sister to eat, even spoon it into my sister's mouth when needed. Remind my sister to replace the water freely given away to others. Remind my sister the body needs its simple comforts to continue housing the strong magic of being my sister. I become an evangelical of deserving when it comes to my sister. And when my sister cannot muster the proper righteousness, I turn my sister's trembling hands, palms up, and empty into them everything my pockets hold until the weight of what I can give steadies them. My sister calls me by my name when everyone else forgets it, sees me even when my own mother won't. My sister picks me up from the side of the road because my sister would never pass me by. My sister blots out the shame that tailcoats on my weakness, lays a hand to my bruises to remind the skin of its strength, that it did not break, even though it had every right to, considering the ungentleness it was met with. My sister reminds me that the bruise will fade, that I will not. When my sister's skin breaks, because this time it couldn't not break, I lay a hand to the split, reminded of its incredible knitting. I whisper parables to the skin where it returns stronger and shinier, a brand new jewel of flesh set into sturdy veteran flesh. My sister does not come to hush my sobs or wipe clean my face of devastation. Instead, my sister points my mourning face up to the night sky. My sister releases wails that sister my own. My sister and I feed our sorrows, our rages, our regrets up to the hungry moon until it is full, before resting our well-worked feet atop the feet of our joys and letting them dance us around in the soft grass. Here's another theory of the origin of whiteness. Whiteness was born silent, a gas leak, fed on seawater, grew quickly into a swarm of hueless presence, took its first steps coming ashore, a world new to it. Greed came in like teething, then gnashing. Whiteness marveled at its hands and their grab, everything mine and mine and mine. It threw tantrums that wiped out whole villages of native. When whiteness did not have enough hands to grab all that it wanted, it stole hands from blackness, refused to give them back, said, God's will. Whiteness claims unseeable, and so is God. Whiteness plays God. Whiteness doesn't play well with others. Whiteness pouts when it's told to share. It is always whiteness's turn, especially when it is definitely not whiteness's turn. Whiteness says, forget the past, says there's no such thing as ghost. Whiteness haunts everything, 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 but is terrified of everyone else. I'm gonna throw it over to Marcus now, and I'm gonna go mute when he shows up. There we go.
That was beautiful. I think I'll start. I'm gonna read some poems from my second book, and then probably a few new poems. I'll start with poems from my second book, and maybe I'll start, I think I'll start with this piece I wrote in junior high and early high school before we were old enough to get into like a dance club. We sort of made the local skating rink, which in Toledo had a specific name, but I changed the name for the romanticism and religious implications of the poem. We used basically a skating rink to fall in love and go to the club. When we were in the club, that place, it's called Skate. Friday nights, we were in a loud line for the doors push bars to unchain, for the admission lady wearing a stiff wig to collect the $2 cover. Beforehand, we stood at murky mirrors, girls penciling eyeliner or ironing greased kinks, boys honing poses or spraying counterfeit cologne. Above shelves of beige skates for rent, the wall wore a mural of a tropical beach, parrots squawking in the painted trees. Dimness veiled the scarred parquet, a DJ clawing songs as we sang and rapped along. 2 lots west, the powertrain plant kindled engines and differentials to blind life. In the suburbs, our counterparts bladed on ice, their cheeks opening into rosiness. We shimmied on small, oiled wheels until sweat glazed our faces, until motion swept the debris from our beings, and big bulbs in the rafters thundered, and we winced in the godly watts, godly for not allowing us to live any longer on delight's tiny island. This poem I wrote as a tongue-in-cheek thank you note to whatever forces are responsible for our romantic failures and triumphs and journeys. It's called To the Love Gods. Thanks for those first dearests who left us for flashier suitors. Thanks for guiding us away from sleeping with the misleading people who seemed fine at the time. The woman who ended up the queen in a monarchy of rescued cats. The man who killed a clerk during a robbery. Thanks again for the condoms that didn't break. For Mrs. Moore using a cucumber in health class to so clearly demonstrate how to put a Trojan on. Thanks for the morning after pill, for abortion, for the absolution in both escape and regret. Thanks for all the solitude, all the nights our rooms were the monologues of stones. Thanks for all the quarrels, the furious mouths and unbelievable words. Thanks for your permission to mend, for prescribing time and somber songs as balms. And thanks, of course, for our hearts, those redundant drums, ushering us through the darkness that lives between the burning kingdoms of our loves. And then back to Rachel.
I'm right here. All right. Oh man, shout out to the skating rink. We used to get gussied up to go to the skating rink back in the day. Big fan of that. I went to Skate USA in Grove City with my friends after we, sprayed our hair into like perfect awnings of bangs, just too crisp. Funny thing is, I can't roller skate, so I would just hang out. All right, so this is for my my high school best friend Desiree, called Promissory. We are far and away from the days that we were homecoming queens of the convenience store parking lot, fuel pump island girls who smelled of candy and gasoline. We welcomed in the cars whose bass shook the ground like furious dancing gods and offered ourselves up to them when we knew what our youth and our cleavage and the well-timed lick of a blow pop would get us, but not yet what they would cost us. We never bothered to read the promissory notes we signed to be young and girl and without a curfew. We assumed the terms to be ours. We could not know what we would leave behind in wandering naive from our hilltop, that we would come to know what it means to be debt-full and woman and still with no one calling us to come home. What tribeless girls we were when we stumbled upon one another and got our heartstrings tangled. What a fortune of unbalance that pushed us together and then kept us tethered. I thank the rumble gods for you, for your steadying arms in the darkness. One of these days, we'll scrape together enough gas money from the floor mats to run away. Someplace where we don't have to wear this skin so much like bark. Someplace where we will not spend any more years piling on scabs until we are crab-shelled laughter ghosts. We will be unsalted hot pearls. We will stand on a beach tasting a salt spray not made of tears and Midwest wind after everyone else has gone to sleep. We will peel down to the soft fruit, and for once, it won't hurt. And for once, and at last, it will be on our terms. That's from Nothing Is Okay. It's my second collection. My first collection, I'll read a poem from it now. It was recently re-released from Button Poetry. Timber Mouse was fantastic, but you know, I liked having both my titles under the same roof. So we did a new cover, which was the same artist that did this cover, which I feel she makes iconic covers. This poem is about my anxiety. It was from, I took a class with the amazing poet Shira Ehrlichman. She's a genius, shout out to her, where she had us assign a persona essentially to something about ourselves. And for me, it was my anxiety. And I went with Betty Davis, specifically Betty Davis in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. If you haven't seen that movie, it's a classic. But she's kind of frightening. Oh, shoot, hold on a minute. My battery's going down. Okay, hopefully I don't blink out. 1962 Betty Davis in too much rouge and a baby doll dress lives in the upstairs apartment in my head. An awful tenant. She vacillates between draped serene across my skull and a piano key cyclone banging out a trapped pigeon symphony against the walls and windows. She steers all of the laughter at my back, charges a nickel for a peek at my naked and aging fingers. Betty Davis pedal pushes the crank of my jaw, an insecure gramophone, apologizing for all the broken glass in my feet and the bloody dance step diagram I've left on the good rug. She runs the well-meaning neighbors from the porch with a glare and a cackle. She shouts all of the fireflies out of the sky. She's a booming voice demanding at the top of the stairs that I stop my sniveling. She stands ready with loaded hands to the small of my back, tells me I would make such a lovely spill as I am made up of nothing but the most triumphant waste. Every time she makes a run for my fingernails, I change the lock. But Betty Davis is a crafty squatter, knows where the loose floorboards are. My love is a matchmaker, threatens to smoke her out, wedges matchsticks up my spine. She quiets at the smell of sulfur. I am a beautiful fire risk. They are a patient burn victim, just waiting to happen. I'll throw it back to Marcus now and try to fix my technical issues.
I think I'll read a pickup line poem and a breakup poem. I guess those two will work together. I wanted to, sort of in the middle of the process of writing this book, I wanted to try to write a pickup line poem because now people generally meet each other initially online or through social media or electronically or virtually now. And the pickup line used to be a thing. I always hated them for the most part whenever people would try to meet me with a pickup line, and I never wanted to meet anybody with a pickup line. So I thought I'd challenge myself to write a poem that had a couple really long sentences that were in essence a pickup line, that I would be dually scared by, but kind of intrigued. So this is the poem that came out of that. It's called, I don't do this much, but I'm a sucker for the wondrously torn apart type. And the stare you've been giving me is quite the installment of radiant dismantlement. I love this place. It's overpoured bottom shelf specials. It's stained ceiling tiles. And the way the daytime street and people through the front window accent my expedient bewilderment. For a second or so, I pondered not talking to you, leaving the wavelengths of our respective singularities to hum at different ends of the bar. And then my dead mother's voice called out my cursed foolhood, my faithlessness, and distrusting the glaring likeliness that you, over here, in an attire and posture that must have accompanied you through miles of disquiet, thrill, retreat, and dreaming, swiftly drinking what I'm guessing is your third gin gimlet, might become inclined to hear a few more peculiar, fervent notes about the outlandish soul my body hardly holds. So if anybody ever comes up to you and says anything like that, probably should disengage. But there's way less of a chance that anybody would use a pickup line, or at least try to use a complex pickup line during social distancing. Say, stay back. Plus, I can't hear you through your mask. I got somewhere else to go. And this is the breakup poem. It's called Travel Plans. All these nights, I've been telling you things, mainly made up things, aiming for your wonder and empathy and lust. And this has worked well enough. What with you glimmering to others about my victories and complexities? What with us waking bare-fleshed while mornings blared light through the shadeless panes? But I'm talked out now, and the reach of requisite is suddenly so fraught within you. Your eyes looking breakably at me, your parted mouth, the bay your former voice won't find, and I'm leaving. Maybe for a bar or a bus station, cheap drinks alone, or a slow third-class ride to another unremarkable town where someone else's face will, in a half-second glance, give me the thrilling disinterest I need. And then I'll throw this back to Rachel.
Hey, all right. I do a pickup line poem also, so I'm gonna play off of Marcus's choices here. So this is called The Opposite of Up. Yeah, I'll just read it. Hey, baby, did it hurt when you fell from my expectations? Hey, boo, you must be a library book because I kept you longer than I should have, and now it's costing me. Hey, sugar, you know what this broom is for? Cleaning up the pieces of my life after you leave. Do you have a Band-Aid? Because I scraped my knee falling for your shit again. Hey, sweetheart, are your legs tired because you've been running from commitment your whole life? I bet I could guess your sign. It's dead end, isn't it? Could someone call the fire department? Because, baby, you are a dumpster fire. Baby, if you were a sandwich at McDonald's, you would be the McSpineless. Hey, darling, if I could rearrange the alphabet, I would put F and U together. Was your daddy a sewer worker? Because you are full of shit. Hey, sugar, where you going? I hate to see you leave, but I love watching you walk into traffic. Clearly written by a person who spent too much time online dating. Also, online dating you know, cis straight dudes, which turns out isn't my jam. Wild. So this next one's a found poem, more or less, I guess. My friend Denise Jolly posted like a photo a day to be used as a prompt for writing. And rather than writing a whole poem off of each picture, I just wrote a line off of each picture and turned it into one poem that I call Affirmation. Yeah, it's like a one-person exquisite corpse almost. So, affirmation. You are a stone dreaming of one day becoming the sun, a blooming match head, a fiery bouquet, and the moon sneaks down to watch you in the rain. There are things just waiting to hold you up. They were built for holding. Stop narrowing your eyes in search of things you cannot have. As big as you are, the oceans are bigger. As love as you are, there are cities that will burn. Whenever you can break a piece of the sunset off to share it, as so long as you can break a piece of the sunset off, share it, so long as you mind the edges. There are arms just waiting to pull you through. They were built for pulling. Every side of you is worthy of some small tenderness. Go with the one that grows you best. Remember to polish your gemstone heart even when you aren't expecting company. You are a walker of the edge of the world. You spend time with your pinky finger. There are places just waiting for you to fill them up. They were built for filling. You have enough air, so gift some around. You are unbreakable so long as you keep putting yourself back together. You're a sanctum for unspeakable words. There is sweetness just waiting for you to melt it on your tongue. They were made for melting. Your hands are so far clean of gunpowder. Try to keep them that way. Midwestern royalty. Never apologize for your grasp, but know when to open your hands and release music to the sound-starved. Some days you are a dusk-soaked manor. Some nights you are a belly full of moonlight. There are things waiting for you to fail them. You were made fallible. The way the clouds beg to be held but cannot be, so you too cannot hide for fear of untouchableness. Run towards the world and kiss the sky goodnight. Back to Marcus, y'all. Hey, there you go.
I love the don't apologize for your grasp. I love that. I mean, there's a lot to love in that poem. I think maybe I'll bounce to some weird new stuff. I'm working on this book that is, how should I even try and describe it? An existential journey through current day America and American history, with the aim to try and do some type of lyric recovery, or recovery through lyric and imagistic monologue, if that makes any sense. So there's a consistent speaker through these poems. And they have titles as of now. They might end up not having titles and just being numbered sections in a book-length poem, but we'll see. This first one, I'll just read 2, and then maybe a couple more if we end up having time. But the thing about this is, once I sort of figured out the organizing principle for the book, or the organizing assignment, which is modern day African-American existentialism, and I wrote a few poems, then I just started writing poems with tiny, tiny assignments, like try to get this word into a poem and see what happens. This first one, I think I just tried to, I wanted to get the 2 words mortality and repentance into this. And they ended up kind of bookending the poem. This is called From Where I'm Breathing. My hope is that my mortality encounters you. In the same fashion, a striking pedestrian walks toward you on a slightly rainy night the stranger's eyes, never finding your face and leaving you with a longing born only out of being stylishly ignored. Have you ever savored the papery plea, the birch leaves repeat when autumn wind subpoenas them to death? Almost no one can say anything that does not get lost in the endless halls of my doubt. Still, my body has been fine enough to have received and delivered memorable pleasures, and the river not far from where I'm breathing is muscular and has a voice that can't be sold for less than an entire life of ill-chosen endeavors and frantically whispered repentances. And then this poem, I realized I had never written a poem in which a nun appeared. And there's this wonderful Polish film called Ida. I highly recommend it. It came out in about 2014, 2015. And one of the opening scenes, there are 3 nuns. So I just kind of bounced off this image of the 3 nuns and the wanting to put nuns in a poem into a sort of acrostic beginning to this piece. This is called Faint Light in Ice. How long now have I been imagining my decisions somehow becoming as swift as 3 new nuns carrying a carefully repainted Christ statue through a snowy morning courtyard? My mother, who had been schooled by nuns, ate wonderful drugs for a whole summer out west. And some of those nights for her must have quickly changed from waves of velvet to ballets of blades. On a 4th grade field trip, our teachers funneled us to a matinee at the City Symphony. And almost none of us children could keep from whispering vulgarities, hoping to veil our astonishment at the concert hall's scale and at the players' sacredness. Quite a number of the children I whispered with have since been convicted, entrapped, or released altogether from the songs and the silences of this life. And tonight, I'm ripping the red cellophane, which necks a bottle of serviceable liquor. The ice in the glass capturing some of the room's faint light and making it look for a while unhaunted and young. And then we'll go back to Rachel.
Hey, all right. This is a poem from my chosen sister, who's coming to visit me next week. Her name is also Rachel. Her name is Rachel McKibben. She's an incredible poet. I probably wouldn't be a poet if it wasn't for her. And this is a poem loosely based on Thelma and Louise, but actually based on a short road trip she and I took from like Minnesota to Chicago in a convertible, in which 2 women go over a cliff and retell to live about it. In this retelling, the 2 women in the convertible are sisters in ache. They are seasoning the pale Midwest air with 90s hip hop and ancestral cackles, wearing giant hoop earrings and the gaudiest possible sunglasses, hair whisked by the wind into cotton candy beehives, nearly as feral as they. They have not murdered any men, not literally, not yet anyway, though they understand the need may arise. They pull into drive-through for bucket-sized ice-heavy Cokes and towering twists of soft serve. They litter the shoulders of the highways with bits of trauma they no longer wish to carry. It lands at the feet of handsome drifter archetypes that they will not be picking up. useless as their plots to attempt and woo and rob the women for everything they've spent their lives saving. The two women are everything they've spent their lives saving. His itchy hands could never handle them. The two women have no room for him anyway. They travel with a backseat packed with dried roses and sage, an entourage of ghosts so thick they have to ride with the top down, even in the rain. In this retelling, the two women in the convertible will not be cornered, will not be forced to choose between a plummeting death or manhandled justice. In this retelling, the two women in the convertible have already grasped one another's hands and driven off the cliff, astonishing everyone except themselves when they make it to the other side. They were always going to make it. Everything ahead of them now is a victory lap. Ew, ew, ew. It's never not weird reading into silence, especially with a slam background. Let's do this short one, so you're on deck, Marcus. A counter curse for witches with unsettled spirits riding their shoulders. I wrote this during an online course called Black Hogwarts, where we wrote poems on Harry Potter based writing prompts. And this one was to write a spell, and I wrote a spell for anxiety. When the backlog of blood ghosts grows too persistent, too aggressive in their attempts to collect on the debts you owe, focus the lungs on their bud and their bloom. Slow the heart back into time. Smoke the angry bees in your honeycomb head calm. Coax the lying stingers from under your skin. Their venom doesn't dance through you. It never did. It was never true. It was never true. It was never true. Everything here is honey. Sweet, slow, golden enough to pay all the greedy specters off. All right, Marcus, you're up.
Yeah, I gotta write some spell poems now. I love that. I think I'll just, how are we for time? We got like 2 minutes left, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time for the Q&A. So I'm just gonna read one poem. This is called Contentment Comes. And I'm trying to remember, oh yeah, I was trying to just work in the word contentment at some point in the poem, because I realized how dark much of the book had become. So I was like, let's get contentment or happiness in there as an actual word. But you got to keep darkness in the poem if you're going to use a word like happiness or contentment. So this is called Contentment Comes. My trust is an abruptly traveling ghost. Those who have had its company sit now in sour rooms or lie beneath the grass, earth, and insects having encroached upon their bones. So suspicious I've remained for decades. I felt the love of my mother to be the result of other children abandoned or perished. I was offered redeeming creeds and accomplishments to be pursued. The mouths of the ancestors and instructors cursory, while selling me different masks for the darkness. Today, I wear a beard that is a scale model of scorched bramble field. My clothes battered and speckled with the substances of the house I've been repairing for years. And my main contentment comes from pausing during certain cold mornings to behold how the wind doesn't need a body or a brain to hush the strange sentences dead men have left us. So I think now we can go
Are we doing Q&A
to
now?
Q&A. Yeah.
Thank you so much. When I was thinking about Rachel saying, reading to silence, and, I feel like we have our own reactions in our rooms and we're so siloed out and everything, but if it's any consolation, I'm like, for both of you. So thank you so much. And I hope the enthusiasm goes through the airwaves and both of you for these beautiful, beautiful readings. We have a couple, and the first one is from Lindsay, who asks, and I guess I'll just kind of we're going Rachel Marcus, so we'll do that with these questions as well. How did you start writing poetry, and what or who was it that made you want to start writing poetry?
Man, for as many times as I answer this question, you would think I'd have it like on lock. So I've always written, like even as a kid, I was writing, but it was all very secretive. I can't remember what made me want to become a writer. I just knew writers were important because my parents were both library employees. So yeah, I don't think I started even thinking about like sharing my work with the world though until I was in my late 20s. So I don't know, and it was the Columbus Slam scene that did that. I was like, oh, there's an outlet for this that looks like a lot of fun. It looks kind of cathartic. So that's when I started considering that I might be a poet, that I might be a writer. It's the way, like, it's the best way my brain can organize my thoughts, and I tend to think in a lot of metaphors and similes. And I have ADHD, so it just started as a way to sort of organize my thoughts. And gravity coming in. It's over there. All right, I'm gonna toss it over to Mark.
First writing, I wrote my first poem when I was 14 as a freshman in high school to try and convince somebody that I was dating to start dating me again, because I got left for somebody who was much flyer than me. And the poem was terrible. Of course, it was everything I wrote in high school, and most of college was terrible, but I remember falling in love with the revision process and being able to, just like Rachel said, with the realizing that there's a certain form or there's a certain genre of art, and in this case language, that our thoughts just gravitate toward or show the best version of themselves within, and being able to change something in important ways after I originally made it, even in a failure of a way, felt really liberating. And then when I got into college, I was and I'm still way too shy to read poems most of the time. But I went to slams and went to pretty much every spoken word event I could as an audience member, but I was always too scared to get up on stage. But then as a sophomore, I took my first poetry workshop and then started reading contemporary poetry and then tracing back through the lineage, especially of Black American poets. So started at 14 with terrible love poems, and now just still trying to make it happen.
Well, Marcus, you closed with one poem, so you kind of owe us. Do you have the 14-year-old love poem handy?
Oh, I wish. No, I burnt that. I don't want that popping up in my archives. Never. My handwriting was terrible too.
Really personal, but I can't be the only one.
I can give you a rhyming, 2 words that ended a rhyming couplet.
Oh no, it rhymed? Oh man.
It was terrible. I actually rhymed happy and crappy. So you got to start somewhere.
Oh.
Happy and crappy was in the poem. So
wait, did she get back with you?
Oh no, no. She was way too advanced for any of any of my shenanigans.
Sorry to hear it.
So much art is a work of love, and I many times I hear, there's so much love in what people do, and I really appreciate the way that both of you are motivated by these, by this great love. So the next question is from Chuck, and he wants to know, during this period of the pandemic and sheltering, are you writing more or less or about the same? And the follow-up to that is, and how are you finding inspiration?
I'm not writing very much right now. I'm mostly trying to control my panic. In addition to it being quarantine, I got dumped right before quarantine. So like, not the best conditions for writing. So I mostly have been watching more TV than I've ever watched in my life, more Netflix and Hulu. And I'm playing a lot of Animal Crossing or Super Smash Brothers when I'm angry. But I tell myself I'm feeling the well, that I will eventually have things to write about from the media I take in. So that's part of it. Absolutely. I might be leaning a little hard on it right now. But I have recently, within the last 2 weeks, gotten back into editing my current manuscript. So I feel like I'm moving in a more productive direction, but I'm also just not sweating myself real hard about trying to write during the pandemic because it's scary.
Yeah, I'm in almost the same situation, writing much less, just trying to look out for my own health, the health of my loved ones, because there are so many encroachments upon all of our health, and all these larger political forces trying to come at us on a daily basis. So I think that protecting our safety and our soul is priority one. I've been going back and reading, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, going back and reading some of my favorite books and re-examining them, or circling a few things that I'll probably want to explore in future drafts, and been doing some editing of drafts that I wrote right before the shutdown. But yeah, just trying to stay, emotionally, mentally afloat.
Thank you both. It looks like we have another question, and this is from an anonymous person. So
I love anonymity.
do you intend to write about the topic that you write about? Is it something, pardon me? Is it something that comes up naturally as it's what you and your community are dealing with, or is it more intentional to discuss these various aspects of your identity and community?
Oh man, that was a four-pronged question.
Kind of a long one.
Hold on, I'm reading the question in the chat.
Sure.
I'm feeling a bit. I mean, I have to say that I write really introspectively, and whoever that speaks to is whoever that speaks to. There's of course going to be outside community influences that affect what I write, but by and large, it's introspection and processing for me, or things I wish I could have said in the moment and didn't. So that's where I come from.
I love that, of trying to utter something that you couldn't in the moment, or utter something that you never were given the opportunity to. I think a lot of at least during a first draft, I think a lot of my poems and sentences within poems originate from that type of space too. I will sometimes start a poem with, I guess, maybe a very particular cultural or political subject or topic I want to, at some point during the draft, explore, but I almost always get more caught up or enchanted in just chasing sounds and chasing images and metaphors. And then in revision is usually when I'll try and figure out, okay, is this poem's soul really trying to, I guess, overtly address a particular subject when it comes to culture or politics? And then maybe I'll try and, I don't want to say highlight, but organize or shift the poem so that soul is a little bit more present or near the surface, whether that's with a title or changing a first line here or there. But then on the other hand, if something ends up just being this imagistic, lyric, crazed draft, then I'll try and go back and revision and just let it be itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you both. We don't have any more questions in queue, but I had one for you because I work with young writers, and kind of wonderful to be around that level of energy and the things that they bring to the table. And there are a lot of barriers, right, that young writers face, whether it's technology, transportation, finances, and being outside of the literary world. So the great thing about today, maybe the only good thing, is that everybody who wants to see this, who can get to the internet, can see it, right? We're not having to go down to the Columbus Metropolitan Library and be together. I know we all wish we could, but there's like an equalizing thing happening here. When we're able to put the work out into the world. Like, what advice do you have for young writers who maybe don't have access to what we would call, like, a literary community, and to the support that brings? Do you have any tips for them?
I mean, we have the internet right now, so you have access to a community. You have a library card, you have access to a community. If you have access to books, you have access to community. I know a lot of young poets who, got their love for it off of YouTube, watching poets on YouTube. So, I mean, you can build it where it is if you have to. We have these tools. We are lucky enough to have a lot of these tools. You'd be hard pressed not to find a teenager who can't find access to YouTube, but I know they exist. But again, the libraries, I grew up in the libraries. I spent a lot of time in the stacks. And that's where I learned my love for language, the importance and the value of writing. If you'd have told me when I was a kid I would have 2 books in a library, I would laugh at you, because that's a holy thing to me. But yeah, they're there, and you have the resources are there for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think, I guess maybe I'll add, once you are lucky enough, or I guess driven enough to find a few books or single poems printed out that you love as a young writer, give those works repeated voice physically by reading them aloud, or taking screenshots and trying to print those screenshots and put them physically on the wall. It's crazy how much, crazy in a beautiful way, how much the physical presence of art can change your entire demeanor and your belief in yourself and in your world. Generally, when I'm working on a book, I'll have 3 to 5 books who are sort of guiding me through, and I'll print out some of my favorite moments from them so that anytime I walk into my writing room, I'll be able to glance like I'm in a gallery. And I think the language, especially when it comes to poetry, the language itself is its own community across eras, across times, across cultures. And if you can give it a physical chance, whether reading it aloud or looking at it face to face on a printout, you will definitely feel like you have a friend on the journey.
Yeah, that's great. I agree. That's beautiful.
Thank you both. We are pretty much out of time, and I just want to thank Rachel and Marcus again for a beautifully vivid reading and a wonderful way to spend an afternoon in August. This is just a reminder from Ohioana that you can get copies of the books you can get copies of the books from the Book Loft in German Village or at bookloft.com. And we want to again thank our festival sponsors and thank you, today's participants, for joining us and for coming up with these great questions. Please check out the Ohioana website for all of this year's festival programming and join me in thanking Rachel and Marcus for a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful reading. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you
great
all.
day.
So much.
Bye, Rachel.
Bye, Marcus.
Bye.